Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we decode the language of big business. Today we're diving into a company that seems to be handing out new deals like they're candy on Halloween, but are these treats or tricks? Let's find out. We're looking at a Form 8K filing from Southern Missouri BANCORP or SMBC. This is basically a corporate oops, we need to tell everyone something important, form filed with the Securities and Exchange Commission or SEC. Think of it as a company's way of quickly updating investors on major events. The date to keep in mind is February 18th, 2025. This is when the things we are about to discuss technically happened. The main headline here is about compensatory arrangements, which is a fancy way of saying pay and benefits for certain executives. Specifically, it's about what happens if there's a change in control of the company, like if it gets bought by another company. It's like prenuptial agreements, but for CEOs. The report mentions Southern Bank, which is owned by Southern Missouri BANCORP. Now, the bank entered into an agreement, a formal contract with its chief financial officer, Stefan Shkurtovich, regarding what happens if things change at the top. It's called a change in control severance agreement. They also updated the agreement for Mark Hecker, the chief credit officer. This new agreement replaces his old one from April 2021. These agreements are called severance agreements. These severance agreements are set to expire at the end of 2025. But here is a trick. Each year they automatically extend for another year unless the bank or the executive says, hey, let's not renew this at least 60 days before the end of the year. But here is the major hook. If there's a change in control, the agreement automatically extends to 1 year after that change. So this provides some security for the executives if the company is sold or changes hands. Here's the nitty-gritty of what the executives get if they're let go or if they quit for a good reason within a year of a change in control. A good reason for quitting is usually defined in the agreement and could include things like a big cut in pay or responsibilities. Mr. Chunkotovich, the CFO, would get a lump sum payment equal to 1 year's salary. It is important to remember it is cash compensation, not stock or other benefits. Mr. Hecker, the chief credit officer, will receive a lump sum payment equal to 2 years of his salary. Previously, it was 1.5, so he got a bump up. On top of the cash, both executives get to keep their health, life, dental, vision, accident, and disability insurance for a certain time without having to pay for it. Chunkotovich gets it for a year, while Mr. Hecker gets it for 2 years, up from 1.5 years previously. And this covers their families too, if they were already on the plan. If keeping them on the insurance plan isn't possible, or if it triggers a special tax, the bank has options. They can either find similar benefits that don't cause the tax problem, or just give the executive a lump sum of cash to cover the cost of those benefits. There's also a clause about something called a parachute payment. This is a rule in the tax code that limits how much a company can pay its executives when there's a change in control. If the payments are too high, the company can't deduct them as a business expense and the executive might have to pay a special tax. So the agreement says that the payments will be reduced if they're too high to avoid these tax problems. Finally, there is also a non-solicitation agreement included. For a year after leaving, Mr. Shkurtovich can't try to poach employees or steal customers from the bank. Mr. Hecker has the same restriction, but for 2 years. This prevents them from taking their knowledge and relationships to a competing bank right away. If you want to read the actual agreements, they're attached as exhibits. The company also mentions that they have done something similar for Lance Groenker, who is the chief risk officer. It is the same song and dance, really. You can find the details in Exhibit 10.3. The form lists all of the exhibits that are being submitted. The report was signed by Matthew T. Funke, President and Chief Administrative Officer. So what does all of this mean? Southern Missouri BANCORP is essentially making sure its top executives are taken care of if the company is sold or goes through a big change. These agreements are pretty standard in the corporate world. They are there to attract and retain talent and ensure a smooth transition if there is a change in control. Now, for some analysis, Southern Missouri BANCORP seems to be doing okay. They are a smaller regional bank in Missouri. These agreements are usually a sign that a company is either positioning itself to be acquired or just trying to keep its executives happy and prevent them from leaving. One thing to consider is what these payouts could potentially cost the company if a change in control actually happens. While it may not be huge, it's still money that could be used for other things. Also, these agreements are pretty favorable to the executives, but that's not always a bad thing. Sometimes you have to pay to play. As for the stock, Southern Missouri BANCORP SMBC is currently trading around $34 as of October 2024. Looking at their financials, they are profitable. A reasonable price range would be $30 to $38. It is hard to recommend an upside at their current state. Overall, Southern Missouri BANCORP seems to be a fairly stable company. These severance agreements are more or less standard practice and don't raise any major red flags. I'm leaning slightly bearish as the agreements benefit executives much more than shareholders. Thanks for watching Corporate Decoder. If you found this helpful, please like and subscribe. Let me know what other companies you'd like me to decode in the comments below.